The city froze on the cusp of a breath. Lanterns leaned toward her shadow, as if drawn by a gravity older than flame. In the stillness she walked, her heels sounding like the tick of a clock too vast for any tower. Pulsefire clothed her not in steel but in revisions. Strands of light stitched into fabric that bent with memory, panels of armor faintly transparent, showing not her body but alternate versions of it, each one stepping a half-second apart. The air behind her collapsed into silence. The cobblestones in front of her anticipated her stride. The rifle was longer than the alley, older than the men who smelted its barrel, and younger than the concept of regret. It unfolded from her back like a wing. Through the scope the world rearranged. Street lamps became stars and constellations no chart had dared, faces broke into equations of possible sin. A single pull could prune a history or grow one from scratch. She did not aim at targets. She aimed at errors. Once, on a night remembered by no calendar, she fired across centuries. A tyrant who had not yet been born lost his speech in a cradle, his lips turning silent the moment she adjusted the timeline. On another roof she watched a revolt unravel into smoke, then refold itself into harmony because her bullet lodged between the hinges of decision. The rifle hummed with satisfaction, though it was not music, more like the echo of a parade that marched in both directions at once. Those who glimpsed her did so unwillingly. A thief reaching for a purse discovered his hand closed around a folded confession already dated. A watchman, turning a corner, walked into an identical street again and again until the fourth repetition, when she was waiting, her gaze polite but terminal. Even a child, catching sight of her in a pane of still water, watched her father's illness blink out of existence, leaving only the sensation of a life that had never been threatened. Witnesses did not speak of her, but their clocks never struck true again. The moment of rupture arrived quietly. She knelt on the parapet of a courthouse whose roof had not yet been laid. The rifle opened its jaw. Through its lens she saw three versions of the city laid over each other. One bright, one ruined, one skeletal. All three carried the same mistake, a man stepping into a square with a note that would topple empires. She chose not to let him reach the fountain. She pressed her finger and the air unzipped. A bullet appeared where his intention had been, erasing it so thoroughly that the cobblestones beneath his foot forgot to remember him. He vanished without violence, like a breath withheld too long. But the world resists perfect edits. Across the square, a rival hand moved, another editor, another rifle. Reality jittered, its frames out of order. A boy who had been meant to deliver a message disintegrated into ash, while his letter remained fluttering in midair, the only evidence he had ever existed. She swung her scope, but this opponent cut deeper, carving wounds into time that would scar regardless of correction. She fired, not to kill but to bind, to close, to seal. The bullet arrived late, yet in its lateness carried authority. The rival blinked from the rooftop, leaving only the sensation of cruelty still humming in the air. She did not pursue. She escorted the present. In the square below, a woman hesitated before stepping into the path of a carriage that had not yet been built. Caitlyn exhaled and fired a round thinner than a whisper. The carriage dissolved into exhaust from a machine not invented. The woman's foot found stone that had always been there, and she lived on, believing in fortune. Caitlyn allowed her that illusion. She packed the rifle. The blue light stitched itself into a case that looked like a door drawn on the wall of a prison cell. Before she entered, time itself leaned toward her in gratitude, offering her bouquets of unbroken afternoons. She declined. Gratitude was inefficient. All she accepted was the pin that fixed her hat against eternity's wind. Then she stepped away and seconds lurched back into motion, startled to find themselves behind schedule. Those who were touched by her edit dreamed of rails made of pennies hammered into copper light, stretching across dusk. In those dreams a woman walked the rails, her rifle a staff that erased storms. They woke with no memory of her face, only the certainty that their lives had been gently rearranged. Some believed in miracles, some in luck, but none could look at a clock without suspicion. She leaves nothing of herself behind but evidence. A cartridge stamped with a date no historian can place, a scuff on a ledge where doubt slipped, a coin from a mint that has not yet been founded. They are not relics. They are receipts. Pulsefire Caitlyn is not a sheriff, not a savior. She is the hesitation before violence, the interval in which the world asks itself if it truly intends what it is about to do. And if you ever find your breath suspended, a sentence pausing before its final word, know that it is her decision you await. Perhaps you will remain. Perhaps you will be rewritten. Either way, the corridor of blue light has already chosen.